Barack Hussein Obama. Have you heard of him?
President Obama's office responding, nothing in the document issued last week undercuts the widely accepted conclusion that Russia worked to influence the 2016 presidential election, but did not successfully manipulate any votes. These findings were affirmed in 2020 in the report by the Bipartisan Senate Intelligence Committee, led by then Chairman Marco Rubio.
Everybody in the world is talking about Epstein, and Fox is still talking about Biden's memory. I mean,
you might think that Trump suing Rupert Murdoch, the owner of Fox News, would slow down the unapologetic worshiping of Trump. But not so fast. Not when there is a conspiracy about Obama to spread.
Now, if you show these documents to a D.C. grand jury, and we know all about D.C. grand juries, what do you think the chances are of an indictment coming for Brennan, Comey, Barack Obama, or any of these guys?
Probably like me being in the NBA. And so, but the point is, it's not what the grand jury will do, is should you pursue it? Right. And so here's what I would say. Yes, please do pursue it, because the documents that Gabbard released show that Obama basically ordered his people to go look again and get a different result. And this begins to explain how crooked the Mueller investigation was, because the same people that he was talking to do another intelligence assessment are the same people that cooked up the warrant stuff. You know, the Clinton campaign. Yep. So, yeah, we need to look at this. This is a big deal.
It's a nasty web. I hope we stay on it. And Senator Lindsey Graham, you should never play for the NBA or the WNBA. I don't see any high school basketball team at all. Good to see this. Thank you.
It appears that 9 years after the fact, Director of National Intelligence Tulsi Gabbard has found the smoking gun regarding Obama and Russia. Too bad Trump wasn't president closer in time. Too bad he didn't have a director of national intelligence that he appointed. Too bad he didn't have a cabinet of people to look into it much closer to the events.
The Senate Intelligence Committee spent several years looking into this and unanimously agreed in a bipartisan fashion. Secretary of State Rubio was a member of that committee, that there was no political interference. There was a years-long Justice Department investigation into this as well that also concluded no political interference. So help us from a 50,000-foot level explain, what do you now have that refutes those two?
Sure. I will encourage you, in my role as the Director of National Intelligence, my job, again, as I said when I came into this role, was to make sure that we are telling the truth to the American people and that we are ensuring that the intelligence community is not being politicized. So I'm not asking you to take my word for it. I'm asking you in the media to conduct honest journalism and the American people to see for yourself in the documents that we've released now, close to 200 pages, that point in multiple references, multiple examples, to include comments that have been made by senior intelligence professionals who are some still working within these agencies today that confirm the conclusions that we have drawn, that President Obama directed an intelligence community assessment to be created to further this contrived false narrative that ultimately led to a years-long coup to try to undermine President Trump's presidency.
And if you're believing that those two previous investigations missed that or covered it up?
I'm telling you to look at the evidence. Look at the evidence and you will know the truth.
Funny how it is during his second term and not during his first term that he uncovered something, because according to Tulsi Gabbard, the material that she's uncovered shows that there was a coup that evidently occurred while Trump was president, while he had all the power of the executive branch, while he had the ability to look into this and find this material. But no, it took 9 years and only after an Epstein scandal for them to finally get to the bottom of all of this. Well, it turns out we did look into this claim. Senate Intelligence Committee had a years-long investigation on whether or not there was political interference and concluded, no, there was not. Current Secretary of State Marco Rubio was on that committee and agreed with that assessment.
This is such old news.
it's beyond comprehension that we're talking about. And I understand that this Epstein situation is very tricky for the administration. And day by day, it gets worse and worse and worse. But they are pulling out all of the greatest hits to try to inflame the minds of their most, conspiracy theory addled base so that they hear Brennan, Clapper, Obama, Hillary, and they get activated. And suddenly they won't be mad at Trump anymore for not releasing the Epstein files or whatever he had to do with any of it. It's preposterous that we were talking about Hillary Clinton's emails again in year 2025.
We spent years on this story.
There was also years-long investigation from the Justice Department concluding there was also no political interference. When asked these very basic questions, Tulsi Gabbard today has zero answer. The fact is, she decides to stand in front of the podium with the American flag behind her and claim that there was criminal misconduct by former President Obama, despite the fact of these investigations from these serious institutions of ours, the Senate, the Justice Department, 9 years ago, finding nothing. It is very convenient that she decides to make this announcement right when Trump is getting in hot water for not releasing the Epstein files.
What happened to the lawyer who got Epstein his bizarrely lenient plea deal when he was first arrested on sex trafficking charges in Florida? What happened to the lawyer who got him that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Well, Trump hired him to be his own lawyer. What happened to the U.S. attorney who gave Jeffrey Epstein that bizarrely lenient plea deal? Trump put him in his cabinet in his first term. Well, who then prosecuted Epstein a second time when he was brought up on federal charges? That was the SDNY line prosecutor who Trump inexplicably fired last week. Who was in charge of the Department of Justice and the Bureau of Prisons when Epstein then killed himself in federal custody? President Donald Trump. Who bragged to a reporter about how much Epstein seemed to like women on the younger side? Who said Epstein was a lot of fun to be with? Who bragged that he was friends with Epstein for 15 years? Who flew on his plane at least 7 times? And who now says that everybody needs to stop talking about Jeffrey Epstein right now? Answers there are Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, Donald Trump, and Donald Trump.
Interesting, of course, too, is the fact that once you refer something to court, if that's what Attorney General Pam Bondi does, you have to produce evidence. And all those committees and all that Justice Department clearly had no evidence. Otherwise, they would have done something about it. So this, if it goes to court, will probably most likely get dismissed easily, or even if it doesn't, Obama most likely has immunity thanks to the Trump immunity decision by the Supreme Court, showing all of this to be what it is, which is a big farce in order to distract us from Epstein. Fox News is happily following the breadcrumb trail away from the Epstein files toward Obama's arrest. They're all but calling for it, despite the fact that if he were arrested, Pam Bondi, Tulsi Gabbard, Trump would have to produce actual facts and evidence, something they're not very good at and certainly don't do from their social media posts. But this is not surprising. Fox News and the Fox News audience has been after Obama for quite some time. They were even willing to practically arrest him for wearing a tan suit.
The president came out addressing reporters on Thursday, and he was wearing this tan suit. President Obama's decision to wear a light tan suit at yesterday's news conference. He was wearing a tan suit.
Light tan suit.
I think it was shocking to a lot of people.
It seems that Tulsi Gabbard is intentionally confusing the definition of influence and interfere, because in her statement that Obama politicized the intelligence at the time, she says that the intelligence community said that Russia did not interfere with the election. But the intelligence did say that they attempted to influence the election, which is what the statement by Obama had said. Reading it as an attorney, that seems to be a purposeful misconfusion between those two definitions. But that is kind of the crux of it. So all of her initial statements, she's trying to distract from Epstein, but they don't hold that much water. So she decides to release a House report from the House Intelligence Committee that was then led by Republicans way back in 2017, who looked into this. But despite the fact of her speaking from the podium and saying that this was something she was going to refer to Pam Bondi, even that report does not dispute the fact that Russia meddled in the election in a way to damage Hillary Clinton.
You referenced the past intelligence reports and assessments on this, including that 2017 one that was signed off, as Ed noted, by every Republican on the Senate Intelligence Community, including the acting chair of the time, now Secretary of State Marco Rubio, who said in a statement that they did not find any evidence of Russian collusion, but they did find, however, is very troubling, and they found irrefutable evidence of Russian meddling. One, are you saying that he's wrong in that statement that he made then? And secondly, what would you say to people who believe that you're only releasing these documents now to improve your standing with the president after he said that your intelligence assessments were wrong?
Well, first, I want to correct something that you stated, which was citing the Senate Intelligence Committee's report as being one and the same. I think you said the intelligence community. The Senate Intelligence Committee has a very different function than the Office of the Director of National Intelligence. The evidence and the intelligence that has been declassified and released is irrefutable. I'm going to let Caroline speak to Secretary Rubio.
I'll speak to both questions. First, on Secretary Rubio, he put out a statement in 2020 following that Senate Intelligence Committee report, and he said what they found is troubling. We found irrefutable evidence of Russia meddling, which the Director of National Intelligence just confirmed for all of you, that Russia was trying to sow distrust and chaos. But what's the outrage in this that Secretary Rubio did not say at the time, the Democrats were saying at the time, is the fact that the intelligence community was concocting this narrative that the president colluded with the Russians, that the president's son was holding secret meetings with the Russians, all of these lies that were never true. And he also said at that time, we discovered deeply troubling actions taken by the FBI under Comey, particularly their acceptance and willingness to rely on the Steele dossier without verifying its methodology or sourcing. The Steele dossier that many outlets in this room ran as the gospel truth, and it was cooked up and paid for by the Clinton campaign. As for your second question, Caitlin, I think who is saying that she would release this to try to boost her standing with the president? Who has said that?
Well, the president has publicly undermined her when it came to Iran.
Distracting us from Epstein. We know it's because of that, because there was years of investigation while Trump was president. And if something had come up, certainly he would have done something back then.
The truth is more important than ever. Check out our new Truth Over Lies collection at store.MeidasTouch.com. All 100% USA Union made.